else for me to say. So for those of you that were on the call yesterday, you might have heard me doing a bit of spoken word. And so today we're going to do something a little bit different. However, due to a special request, we're going to go ahead and start off with a spoken word piece anyway, and then get into the rest of it. So this is the first piece that I was actually confident enough to show other people. From when I was 17, it's gone through many different alterations, just updates, whatnot else, but it's pretty much stood up since then. So we're going to go ahead with that, and it's called Spitting Wisdom. They tell me that propaganda was really big in like World War II, but if you can't spell it, what do you think happened to you? So we accept racist names and turn them into a badge of honor. Now when a rapper says nigga, everybody's like, holla. See, it's time for blacks to spit wisdom and stop just kicking knowledge, because the true value of learning can't be expressed in dollars. You see, my people would sell their souls to make a few dollars as long as it's cash. Taught to think that this world is the only life that they have. So I don't just speak to people that are in ghettos and projects. I speak to atheists who don't understand what I see as common sense, like explain the sun, the moon, and the stars, or explain why a Marine like me is still alive. You say there's no God, but my eyes say that you lie. Like the Emancipation Proclamation that freed slaves, so they died with the Southern economy just to enrich captives' lives. See, Lincoln's proclamation only freed slaves in 7 states in the South. If you pick up a book, you might read he had slaves running in his house. So blacks were used as pawns on the chessboard called politics. And Dr. King got checkmate because he's way too smart for this. So the worst fear of the government's world is realized. I'm an educated man that discerns truth from lies. But I'm just scratching the surface of the well of knowledge. My thirst is unquenchable, like conflagration destroying David crushed churches. You see, my verses are important like reading Proverbs, and then it hits you. The most important thing you did was stop looking at pictures. You see, I write between the lines. So if you read between the lines, you might find things that are rarely put in rappers' rhymes. I'm not a lunch line with punchlines just wrapped up in cold rhymes. No, the flow's ridiculous, so it speaks to your subconscious mind. Now, I don't know of many inventions made that are so dangerous to use. Tell me, who was it that invented the television or the tube? You see, my thoughts are imported, like AKs, cocaine, and cheap labor. Now, how can you pass laws against welfare's favor when the indigenous peoples of this land were permanently imprisoned, satiated with whiskey and a government pension? So Native Americans get reparations and African Americans get welfare. And it sounds like the same thing with a different name until you explain to me why it isn't fair. You see, to American evil, truth is like a gnat brush from the hair. Till everyone is better, nobody cares. Act like it's all gone and it's not really there. And that's why blind and dumb monkeys act like they can't hear. But it doesn't have to be a conspiracy. As soon as someone can please explain to me why it's easier for some kids to buy cocaine than cigarettes. You feeling me? You see, the wars that America loses are just swept under the rug. So tell me, how can we win if we're just fighting us?
Oh, come on now.
All right. So that was for my dad for his birthday. He wanted that. So right before, all right, amen. So right before I get into the speaking, I don't know, how religious some people are or not, or what your relationship is, but I'm going to go ahead and pray because that's my life. So, dear Lord, we ask for your help. I'm about to speak right now, and I pray that you'll give me the words. I pray that it will reach some hearts, maybe try to change some mindsets, if not lives, and definitely help somebody out today. I am thankful for this opportunity and for the ability that you have given me. May my light so shine that they glorify my Father which is in heaven. Amen. So today I want to talk to you real quick about an appetite for a birthright. Now I'm going to disambiguate that a little bit. I mean that in two ways. I mean both an appetite towards a birthright, and an appetite in exchange for a birthright. And we'll get into the breakdown a little bit. Now, again, I don't know how much you know about the Bible, so I'm just going to give you a quick little overview. There were two brothers named Jacob and Esau, Esau being the older one. Now, what you do need to know about this, first off, is that Esau was a favorite of his father, and Jacob was a favorite of his mother, being the youngest. Now, back in the day, the oldest got the birthright and the blessing, essentially everything. They got the inheritance, and then they also got the spiritual blessing, which would multiply them in the future. The first one is simply a matter of birth, as the name implies, birthright. The firstborn has the right to the inheritance, to the physical wealth and whatnot of his father, of the family. The blessing is something different. it's not, it is a right, but it isn't a right. As it shows in the Bible, sometimes it's not necessarily the firstborn who gets that blessing. However, that blessing is just actually probably more important than the birthright, because that blessing will multiply you beyond what you already have. That's just setting the stage right now. So, Esau and Jacob. Esau was a man of the field. He liked to hunt and whatnot. Jacob was a little bit more of a homebody. That may have been why his mom liked him a little bit more. Esau was a hairy man and just, just like a man's man, so to speak. And one day, Esau was out there, hunting, doing his thing, and Jacob was just kind of chilling, and he was making himself a little stew. I'm going to call it chili, just to just to bring a little current for us. So he was making up some chili. Now this wasn't any type of chili. This was some banging chili, like the type that makes your nose run just a little bit, but still got a little like sweet in it, like some really really good. That's the stuff he was making. So he's making this really really good chili. His brother, is out there hunting whatever else. He's hungry. He smells it. He comes up to him. He's like, "Look, man, I'm hungry. I am hungry. I'm famished. Let me get some of that." Now, Jacob, not being the necessarily physically or physical person, was more of a mental person. He was a little more cunning, and actually, it means trickster. His name. So he was a trickster from the beginning. Anyway, so his brother asks for food, and he gives him an outrageous request. In return, he says, "Give me your birthright. Give me the inheritance that you will obtain from our father in exchange for this one bowl of food." Now, I can imagine that at first Esau was like, "Are you crazy? Like, no, why? No, absolutely not. XYZ." But as the Bible says, he eventually says that he cannot enjoy his birthright if he's dead. So essentially, he's saying, "Look, I need food to live. I don't need the birthright to live right now." Here's the important thing: right now. All right. So if you have a birthright, do you think, matter of fact, you're the oldest son, blah, 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 do you think anyone's going to let you die? Matter of fact, do you think one meal is going to kill you? No. So I don't know the whole situation surrounding this, but what I do know is that the man sold his entire inheritance for one meal. And later on, when their father was going to pass, Jacob's mother gave him some advice, and I'm just going to cut this really short. Long story short, he also ended up stealing the blessing, this time completely through trickery. And the price, part of the price of that was, for a very large period of time, he both ran away from home and was afraid, literally afraid of his brother, his older brother, that he would try to kill him, because his older brother did want to actually kill him. So that's that whole story real quick, and let's back up just a little bit and talk about it a little bit more in detail and then apply it to our lives. So an entire inheritance for a bowl of stew, of chili. That means the house. That means the car. That means all the money. Of course, back then they didn't have a car, but you understand what I'm saying. Back then it was a bunch of cattle and all that. All the physical wealth that his father had accumulated over a lifetime, he despised it so much. It says in the Bible, he despised his birthright. I mean, he looked down on, not necessarily that he hated it, but that he did not value it enough. He looked at it as probably, or maybe because, he's like, "Oh, I'm a big, strong, young man. I can earn whatever I need to back." Doesn't matter why. What matters is that he despised the thing that his father had literally been working an entire lifetime for. How does that apply to our lives? Well, it's kind of a one-for-one the way that I see it, because we all have a birthright. Now, it may not have been from your parents, but your birthright from your second birth, if you are a Christian, and if you're not a Christian, you're not, you don't believe in God or whatever else, just know that you still have a purpose. God still has a purpose for you. You don't have to believe in him for him to believe in you. If you want to say the universe or whatever else, hey, you can pretend like, God's anonymous, but what we're getting at here is everyone has a purpose. Everyone has something they are supposed to do. And we all want to walk in that purpose, because you feel incomplete when you're not walking in the purpose. You feel the need to do something better. You feel as though you are either stagnant or just not in the right place. You don't feel, you feel out of joint. You just don't feel comfortable. It doesn't really flow, if that makes any sense. So we all have this thing that we are meant to do. However, at the same point in time, we also have our appetites. We have things that we want now and things that we may need later. Let's say it again. We have things that we want now and things that we may need later. There's something that I wrote, a really short piece, and it says that instant gratification is almost never worth it. I'll explain to you why, the same way that I explained to my young Marines. So when you join the Marine Corps, one of the things people tell you is don't volunteer for anything. All right, like you already did volunteer when you signed up, but don't volunteer for anything. And it seems like some good advice, but it's not. Here's the reason why. Always accept the price up front. That way you know what you're paying. Again, always accept the price up front. That way you know what you're paying. There's something called interest. Interest does not apply to something. There may be sales tax, but interest does not apply to something that you buy immediately. You know exactly how much you have to pay. You pay that, it's done. If you delay your payment for instant gratification, you will end up paying more, a higher price. So the Marine Corps always told them, hey, if it's something that you know you can do, and it's not too bad, go ahead and volunteer for it now. That way, if something worse comes up later on, you don't have to worry about it. Does that always work? No. Maybe sometimes, you get the short end of the stick, X, Y, Z, but it has a much better success rate, right? It's statistically a better idea. The same goes for life. You want to pay the price or know the price at the very least before you begin the action. You need to know what you're paying, right, before you enjoy the benefits of whatnot, of whatever it may be. So the thing with, say, sin versus righteousness, God versus devil, X, Y, Z, is that all the things that feel good right now, right? The instant gratification, like say you want to have sex out of wedlock, right? And there's things called STDs. You have unwanted pregnancies or just, surprise, XYZ. There are so many things that can come from that. Somebody's angry baby's father, blah, 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 blah. And that's the price of your instant gratification. You don't know what the price is going to be up front. You don't know if you're going to end up with HIV. You don't know if you're going to end up with something that, could just be curable. You don't know if someone's going to try to kill you because they love the person that you're trying to love. You don't know. And so you are essentially committing to a price that you don't know up front. It's very, very dangerous to do. I apologize. I'm a little bit distracted right now. Someone came up to talk to me. Anyway, as we were speaking about Appetite for Birthright, so the thing that I've learned is that for something to live, something else must die. For a baby chicken to live, it must first die to its environment inside of the egg. For a sprout to live, it must first die to itself as a seed, right? For a baby to live, it must first die to the womb to be born into the world. Now, when I say die, I don't necessarily mean physically deceased. I mean that the place that I'm from doesn't exist anymore, sort of thing. There is no going back. That's what I mean by dying to. Now, Christians know we're supposed to die every day to ourselves, and this is why, because you can become something greater in the end. Now, if you've noticed the lives of those that are living correctly, or living morally, XYZ, most of the time they don't have the same things. They don't have the same things to deal with as some other people who may be just doing, what feels good, what they want to do. And that is because, in part, they are delaying their gratification and paying the price up front. So, appetite for a birthright. What are you hungry for? That's the question. What are you really hungry for? Now, you may say that you want success. You may say that you want to be a better person. You may say all type of things. But what actually happens? The proof is in the pudding. What actually comes out of you and what is apparent in your life, right? So what are you willing to give up to attain what you may need? Anything in life, as I said before, something has to die for something else to live. There is always a sacrifice. Everything has a price in life. You may not be the one to pay it, but everything has a price. And the price for anything great is a sacrifice. Sacrifice doesn't necessarily need to be great. It depends. Generally speaking, though, as the laws of physics state, with to every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. In the same basic vein, so in life, if you want to do something major, you're probably going to have to sacrifice something major. So, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do something, to be on a phone call, to speak on a phone call, to listen and get some new knowledge? And understand that if you're not willing to, someone else is. Someone else is working as hard as you say you're willing to work for the thing that you say you need or want. If you're going to step onto the global stage, you don't need to just outwork everyone in the room. You need to outwork everyone in the world. Your competition is no one but yourself. Now, let me tell you that I'm not being like holier than that, whatever else. A lot of this, I'm speaking to myself, for real. Procrastination is one of my problems. Basically, I do it now or I don't do it. So, as E.T. the hip hop preacher says, though, how bad do you want it? You might kind of want it, right? You want it enough to work 5 days a week. You might kind of want it. You want it enough to go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, as long as it's not too early. You kind of want it. You don't mind staying a little bit late, but not too late because you don't want to miss the game. You kind of want it. You don't want to be in traffic if you have to. You kind of want it. You just want to be comfortable while you're trying to obtain it. You kind of want it, but you don't really exhibit how much you want it, right? So what would someone else say is your goal in life? What would the people that know you, that have followed your life, that have a window into you, say is your goal, is your driving force? Ask them. And I submit to you that if they cannot give you the correct answer, you're doing something wrong. When you love something, when it is inside of you, even if you don't see it, other people will, and they will tell you. Other people will see what is inside of you. And that shine, as I said earlier, it says in the Bible, let my light so shine before men that they may glorify my Father which is in heaven. So that which is inside of you should come out. A tree produces fruit, right? Or bushes, different type of trees, of course, not all trees, but trees produce fruit. Bushes produce, their fruit, whatnot. Flowers, they may have some nettles, whatnot else. They produce flowers. What are you actually producing? What is your light? What is actually coming out of your life? And one last thing, when you break free, when you die to what you were, your environment changes. Like I said, the place I'm from doesn't exist anymore. For the baby, the womb is not an option anymore. It must learn to adapt to its new environment, accept new stimuli, and form new responses based off of this new environment and stimuli. Same thing for a baby chick. Same thing for the seed. The seed does not contain everything that the sprout needs to live. The seed contains enough for the sprout to break free of itself, or break free on its own, to then draw in more nutrients from the surrounding environment. The baby chick, the egg does not give the chick everything it needs to live. No, once it breaks free, it must now seek a new way to eat. It must seek a new way to live, to thrive. This is the same way for you. If you say you died to something, then something must be different. What you put in must be different. It needs to nourish not who you were, not even necessarily who you are, but who you are looking to become, right? Now, as a baby, you might drink milk, and then as you get older, maybe you have something that's crushed up, that's pulsed, and as you get older, you eat something a little bit more solid, and the next thing you know, you can eat anything, right? You can eat jawbreakers, whatever. You know how to operate in different circumstances. If a grown person was only drinking milk, I'm not even going to get into the subject of milk, the animal's milk, and blah, blah, blah. But let's just say human milk. If a grown person was only drinking milk, they would be lacking many nutrients, and we'd think something was wrong with them. Why? Because they are expected to grow. They are expected to evolve, so to speak, to become something else, something capable of more. What have you done recently that is more than who you are? People say that God will never give you more than you can handle. That's not true. He won't tempt you above what you're able. He will give you a way to escape. Does not mean he will not give you more than you can handle. Let me tell you why. If you've ever been to the gym, you understand you build muscles by what's called progressive overload, meaning you must do something that you cannot currently do. You must attempt something you cannot currently do. You must push more weight than you used to be able to. And you have a spotter just in case you're doing something you cannot do. Why? Because you get stronger by pushing your boundaries, by pushing your capabilities, not by being comfortable and sitting in what you can currently do. So, when was the last time you were challenged? When was the last time you challenged yourself? And what are you doing? What are you willing to do? What will you now do from here on out that is greater and more than who you currently are in preparation for who you were meant to be? You have a choice. You may either choose your appetite, what you want now, and pay for it later, or you may choose your birthright, what you need, and you can pay for it now. The choice is yours. My name is Joshua Harris, and that has been my time.